Catholics versus convicts. Notre Dame travels to Miami in week 1 of college football. We have a beautiful slate, and it wraps up here with a gorgeous game in Miami. I'm so looking forward to this matchup, and I have my friend Carden here from Saturdays in the SEC. Now, this is a little out of both of our wheelhouses in terms of talking about some Southern football, but this is a game that cannot be ignored. Notre Dame at Miami. Let's start with this Notre Dame team because, in my opinion, they're going to head into this year with the same identity as they had last year, and that's pounding the football. Last year, it was a mixture between Riley Leonard and Jeremiah Love, and to me, this year, it's going to be all Jeremiah Love. I think he's a Heisman contender. Carden, what are your thoughts on what this Notre Dame offense is set out to do this upcoming season?
I don't see why you would change your identity from last season. Obviously, got you all with a championship game. You return a good amount of players. You know, you went and got a couple of skill guys out of the portal, but you return a lot of pieces, a lot of production. Yeah, can CJ Carr be what Riley Leonard was last year? And that's a high standard to reach. Yep. But can you just be, you know, a manageable quarterback that's going to get the job done and not try to do too much? No turnovers. I don't think he's going to do quite what Riley Leonard did. He had a really good season, but like you said, Jeremiah Love, lean on him and let this offensive line do a lot of work.
Yeah, this the rumors around camp and about CJ Carr, I actually mentioned this in a video that I made a couple days ago about Notre Dame, is that he's quote unquote the best passer of the Marcus Freeman era. And my comments in my video that I made were, I've got to see it to believe it. Like I've actually seen him play in practice a few times. I've seen a ton of videos that have been put on social media. I'm not going to sit here and try to tell anybody that I've watched this kid in high school or anything like that. But could it be that he's the best passer? Absolutely. But is that something that Notre Dame is going to hang their hat on? I seriously doubt it. I mean, I can't name you the last quarterback after Brady Quinn that was a gunslinger for this Notre Dame team. I mean, even Sam Hartman was unbelievably dependent on play actions in the run game. And I think that's what Notre Dame is going to stick to. Now, speaking of replacing quarterbacks, Miami also replaces a juggernaut, a Heisman contender, the #1 overall pick in Cam Ward, and they go with Carson Beck from Georgia. What do you think that looks like in Miami to start this season?
Obviously, two different type of quarterbacks. I think that Carson Beck is going to have a similar year, though, in the passing game that Cam Ward had. Several thousand yards, a ton of touchdowns. He's faced the toughest competition week in and week out in his college career. There's not going to be anything that's going to throw him for a loop or surprise him. So I expect the quarterback play not to really miss a beat. Now, it will be played different. It's going to be a little different schematically because he's not quite the runner that Cam Ward is. He can do it if he's got to. He's serviceable in the run game if it's needed, but he's not going to be what Cam Ward was and the magician he was in the backfield at times. But when it comes to just passing the ball, pure passing, this guy's got you. Carson Beck, he had some troubles last year with some drop passes, so not everything was on him. I think that he's going to have a fantastic year. There's a lot of hate and doubt about him out there right now. Now, you know, he could fall on his face, but I just don't see that happening. I think the talent with this guy, he's going to be playing on Sundays too. I think that the from the passing game, the offense is not going to look that much different.
I completely agree. I think, Carson Beck, of course, maybe the most hated on quarterback in college football. I mean, we saw him throw several interceptions last year, but in my opinion, I kind of put him back into that Jackson Arnold conversation where the receiving corps situation was just really unfortunate for Beck in Georgia last year. In terms of top tier talent, it was not there. And we still saw Beck produce. I mean, yes, of course, we have the 12 interceptions, but multiple time 3,500-yard passer, that's not something that you see all the time in college football. He's one of the only returning quarterbacks with 7,000 passing yards on his resume before the season starts. I agree. I do think passing aspect wise, we're going to see very similar play as we saw with Cam Ward last year. However, Cam Ward with his legs and his ability to get out, I don't necessarily think that Carson Beck can do that. And that is where I'm going to get into my most underrated player on this Miami offense, and it's Mark Fletcher Jr., who, in my opinion, might be the best back in college football. That's a hot take. I know everybody loves Jeremiah Love and Nick Singleton and I can't remember the backup running back at Penn State, but everybody loves them. Nobody has really seen Mark Fletcher yet. He sat behind Damian Martinez last year. I think he's going to get the reins of this Miami offense coming from Mario Cristobal, who is an offensive line coach formerly and is a guy that loves to establish dominance on the line of scrimmage. And I think Miami can do that this upcoming year. So flipping the script, talking about the defensive matchups here for Notre Dame, what do you think that they're going to try to do the most to stop this Miami offense from really churning out some production?
Well, like you said, they return a lot of guys from last year. Their defense was really good. I think main focus is making Beck uncomfortable. I don't think that Miami's going to be able to run it all over them. I think that they know that. There's not going to be many teams out in college football that can just pound it down Notre Dame's throat. I just don't think it's going to happen. So I think their focus is just getting Beck as uncomfortable as possible, because that's where he made his mistakes last year when he had some pressure on him, just like many other quarterbacks. But if they're able to get on him, I think that that bodes well for them in the end of the game.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think with a lot of these quarterbacks on high caliber teams like a Miami, if you can disrupt their play, we saw it with Georgia last year in Carson Beck. When you can get back there and put your hands on him, that's when some of the mistakes and the cracks start to show the most. Now, flipping the script and talking about Miami's defense, I think we could say the same thing about CJ Carr. He's obviously extremely green, never been a starter before. But I think Notre Dame, like I said in the introductory of this video, is going to really lean on the ground game. So is this Miami defense, who, man, did they let up a lot of points last year? Are they capable of stacking the box and stopping the run?
I don't know. Maybe not against this Notre Dame team. I think there are some teams out there they could do it against, but I don't know if they're going to be able to go toe to toe and just completely shut down this run game. Now you make them one dimensional, and the only thing they can do is run. Then yeah, I think you got a good chance of stopping it. But I don't think they're just going to flat out not going to be able to run the ball. Now, you spoke about Carr being one of the best passers in the Freeman era. I think if this game comes down and you're having to have your young quarterback pass you to victory,
Yep.
I think that's a really recipe for disaster for Notre Dame. I don't think they want to be in that position, obviously. I don't know that they will be in that position because they're going to be able to run the football, I think. Now, they might not be able to run it for 250, but I think that they're going to get 100 yards plus because of the backs that they have and the offensive line that they have.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, looking at that Notre Dame offensive line, it's just unbelievably talented. I think they're missing their right guard, who had like an ATV accident. He'll be out for a few weeks, maybe even the whole season. I can't remember off the top of my head. But the rest of this offensive line, like Emil Wagner at right tackle, that's a guy that, he's going to be playing on Sundays. I think you could say that for a lot of these players on both of these rosters, but in terms of proven experience, the Notre Dame offensive line has definitely got that. Now, in terms of official predictions, Carden, what do you think is going to happen in this game?
Man, I've gone back and forth. This game was a tough one. I really do believe in Carson Beck, but just the return in production that Notre Dame has, I believe in this Notre Dame team as a whole more. I think they're able to find a way to get it done. I think that they just churn out a bunch of long drives with their run game, and I think that they probably win this game 24-14, 24-17, somewhere along those lines. It's a touchdown to 10-point victory, I think, for Notre Dame. They're a road favorite, 2.5 points. I would take them at 2.5 points to cover.
I am pretty much right there in the same boat as you. My final score prediction is Notre Dame 24, Miami 21. And the reason that I have Notre Dame actually winning this game is the exact same reason that I had Notre Dame winning versus Texas A&M last year on the road. That Kyle Allen Field's a really tough stadium to go in and win. But what makes it easier is being able to punch the other team in the mouth with your offensive line. And that's exactly what I think Notre Dame is going to do. Looking at Miami's offense, I am a big fan of Carson Beck. I think he will be playing on Sundays, and somebody that has been overly doubted and overly hated. But looking at what Miami lost in the draft and in, just going to the NFL, Xavier Restrepo, over 1,000-yard receiver, the number one guy last year. Damian Martinez, 1,000-yard rusher, your red zone back, somebody that you trust on the goal line. he's gone. And then, of course, losing Cam Ward, sticking in Carson Beck to a brand new system in a new location. To me, there's just too many moving parts, not to mention this Miami secondary has also pretty much revamped the entire thing. I think there's one returning starter from last year. Charles Brantley from, I think, Michigan State is going to be the second corner on that team. I as of right now, that's a thing that I have to see to believe. I've said that about a lot of these teams now with the transfer portal and NIL coming into big play here. Miami was slinging money around. If there's anybody to bring about a Miami victory, look out for CJ Daniels from LSU, but originally from Liberty, a former 1,000-yard receiver back in the day with Caden Salter there at Liberty, who's now at Colorado. But I thought at LSU he was going to be the next great wide receiver. Injuries kind of plagued his season last year, and he moves on to Miami. He looks healthy now, and I think that he'll be able to prove himself here. But overall, I think Notre Dame, the experience and the talent level, as well as the coaching factor. I love Marcus Freeman as a coach. I think he's top 5 coach in college football, maybe top 3. Carden, your thoughts on that just briefly?
I mean, I think there's an argument to be made there. Maybe we need to see it one more time before I put him in that echelon. But I think that there's definitely an argument because he was there last year. He made a run.
Yeah, he was indeed able to make a run. But the question mark about him, now multiple times, losing to Marshall a couple of years ago, Northern Illinois, a game that, when you played it back, if you told a Notre Dame fan right after a loss to Northern Illinois that they would make the national championship, I don't know if anybody would believe that.
Yeah.
I for sure as hell would not. So with that being said, addressing the lines here, Notre Dame 2.5 favorite. I love that line. I think very similarly to this Texas A&M game last year, Notre Dame can go in and win this game comfortably. I've got it to be a little closer just because, it's the week 1 of the season. We don't know what these teams are, but I do like Notre Dame minus 2.5. Over under, Carden, 49.5 as it sits right now. Where are you at on this line?
I would probably go the under with what my prediction was off of. I think that puts me at the under. I truly believe that it's going to be a ground and pound type game for Notre Dame, and it's going to be a control the clock type deal for their offense. And I don't know that Miami's going to get all the opportunities in the world to go out there and score 30 points.
I completely agree there. The under is probably my more confident pick of the two. I think Miami can kind of hang around in this game, but if they do, it's most definitely because both of these offenses have stalled out completely. I haven't looked at the weather for this game yet, but I think there was some rain rumored for this weekend in Miami. That could be another factor. We saw how sloppy Kansas State versus Iowa State was in that first half. It's week 1. Both of these teams need to rev up their new offensive systems with new quarterbacks. It just might take some time to get there. So under 49.5 is what I've got. And that's going to do it for this preview. Carden, thank you once again. This is going to wrap up our preview series. We did 5 college football previews for week 1. Be sure to check out the other videos. Carden, let us know where we can find you on social media.
Saturdays in the SEC on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast. We're on TikTok, Saturdays in the SEC with a period in between each word, and Saturdays_SEC on Twitter. My buddy and I, Cameron, do a podcast together. Give us a listen.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for tagging along here. And thank you to everyone that watched this video and all the other ones. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe button. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.